Okay, so here we are, the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead. I'm behind on this one, so you probably already know that it ends with the death of Jesus, who's a really popular character from the comics. And you know all about the controversy with the actor saying that he didn't end up playing the role that he signed up for, and I tend to agree. Even during the war against Negan, there were so many opportunities where we could have seen Jesus doing his kick ass routine, and he just simply didn't do it. I will, however, say that I'm really glad that he went out fighting, because that's who Jesus is, against the Whisperers. So we're in this thing. We're about to start a whole new war. If you're familiar with if you read the comics, you're familiar with the Whisperers, so you have some sense of how this is going to go down if they follow their own script. What it is you have a group of humans who've decided to live amongst the walkers. Like, but how nasty is that, really? Think about that. You spend all day with the dead, and they wear masks made from the faces of the walkers, and they whisper to each other as they guide this horde of walkers around. So it's like having a constantly loaded gun. And at first, no one has any idea that, I mean, even Eugene starts to ponder that maybe the walkers are evolving, right? Maybe there's more to their brain than has ever been before. Of course, we know that doesn't turn out to be the case. The walkers are being driven. So the whispers are going to end up being a foe that is very, very difficult to deal with. Also, this episode, we saw more of the breakdown between the kingdoms. We had Michonne arriving at the hilltop, and to say that she had a chilly welcome might be understating a little bit. These communities really just don't speak to each other. Even Carol begging Michonne for supplies because the kingdom is falling apart. Michonne wouldn't part with anything, saying, "You have your people you have to protect, and I have my people." So they really see themselves as very, very separate entities, and at this point she's not willing to change that. I'm betting that the Whisperers is going to bring these communities together again, because they're going to have to work together to fight this threat. There's no way they can separately take on the Whisperers. I wish we had seen a little bit more about what drove the separation. I know that Rick died. Are we just saying the world fell apart because, like, Rick died? Um, I don't know that I'm buying that. Like, Rick was keeping this all I know he was the leader, essentially, but Rick was keeping it all together. They couldn't keep talking to each other. They couldn't keep trading with each other because Rick is dead. I feel like there's a half-told story there, and that they need to go and do some kind of flashback and explain how it all crumbled and how it all fell apart. I don't need it to turn into like a Rick Grimes mourning episode, but there has to be something more to it um, than this. At least that's what I think. So as I was saying, Jesus is dead, and they have a new foe to deal with. So Magna leads her new group, and they're still sort of looking for a home. It looks like they're gonna be let in at the hilltop. Enid said that she would speak to Jesus when he got back, and as we know, Jesus isn't getting back. Speaking of Enid, it's amazing how much she's grown. She has like a boyfriend now. She's a vital member of the Hilltop. It's kind of cool to see the evolution considering where she came from when Carl first interacted with her, right? Going forward in the new season, I think that it's probably going to be fixated on the war with the Whispers. Negan has escaped. So no good is going to come of that. Unfortunately, someone forgot to lock his jail cell, and when he discovered that it was open, he walked right out the door. Negan is mentally in a much better place than when he had his confrontation with Maggie. He's able to taunt Father Gabriel about the fact that he has to clean his his mess, basically, his excrement. in royal Negan fashion. So I think that going forward, we're going to see Negan give off some of his famous one-liners and do his larger than life self. Basically, this is a man that cannot be rehabilitated. It's patently clear at this point. The question is, how much trouble is Negan going to be? The whispers are still out there. He could unite himself with them and come back against the groups. There's a lot of things that he could do, um, given that he's pretty much still the same person that he's always been, despite all the years that he spent locked up. At the hilltop, Carol said immediately gets into trouble. He meets some of the younger members of the hilltop, and they decide to go and drink and sneak out and do what kids do, right? I guess even in apocalypse, teenagers just gotta get into shit. Like heaven forbid, right? He ends up getting drunk, finds himself on the other side of the wall, has to scream to be let back in, and is placed into the drunk tank, only to learn that he's put his chance to apprentice um, in a very rocky position, because now um, the community doesn't know if he's trustworthy, right? They don't really know him. This isn't his home. They don't know that he has a good heart. They don't know that he's a hard worker. There's a lot that they don't know about him. And first impressions are really hard to change. He's going to have to learn this lesson the hard way. And their first impression is that given the first opportunity, he will sneak away, he will get drunk, he will get into trouble. So this isn't good. I very much think that he's going to take on everything that Carl did in the comics, which means he's probably going to bring more trouble to Hilltop. That is in the future, because so far he hasn't shown the sense that God gave cabbage, as teenage boys are wont to do, I suppose. At any rate, the mid-season finale ends with the death of Jesus, once again cannibalizing the cast, but the actor wasn't willing to go forward, so I'm sort of going to give the writers a pass on this one, because we all know that mid-season finale and season finale comes with a big death. There's only so long they can continue to pull this shit off, but in this case, they really did not have a choice. The actor was leaving. Um, it makes me kind of sad because Jesus was a gay character, and if you missed his coming out, you blinked, you missed his coming out. They never really took his character to where it could have been. There was never any conversations about with Aaron, um, about how they were the same. We saw that they had a budding relationship or a friendship at least, but they never really got into that. They were the only two gay men in this world. You would think that the writers would choose to explore that a little bit, but they just sort of left it hanging there and never really did anything with it. And I think this is the problem once again with The Walking Dead. It can create interesting characters, but when it does, it doesn't really know what to do with them. Um, and with the exception of the evolution of Carol, I don't really think that we've seen any really great growth or any understanding of what they can do with their own creation. Instead, they just cannibalize. So I hope the fact that this actor left will get them thinking about how they use their own characters and build something worth watching again, because I'm at the point of Walking Dead exhaustion. I won't read another of the books. I'm behind on the comics, and there are times when I turn it on, I wonder if it's even worth it anymore. It feels almost like it's time to put it out of its pain and say, okay, well, we're done with this universe. There's only so much money we can wring out of The Walking Dead, and I think they've done it.